All right, so basically all she is, the industry's disposable asset, right? And I'm just gonna go right out and say she's being dumb, right? She's being extremely dumb, right? She could have made so much more money, had less risk, but she is, the foot soldier, if you will, of this pharmaceutical giant here. So she's not a doctor at all. I mean, she's just an abortionist, but she puts way more risk on her shoulders than is necessary. And at the end of the day, she has way more guilt. So the amount of guilt and for that little money, she made a lot of money. But I mean, if you're looking to to really make some serious financial resources, then you're not going to do it as an abortionist, right? So there is a very there's not very many reasons to be a frontline abortionist like that. Why would you want to be? Because she's comfortable, and I think that she's very very happy to have people, she's on the national news, and she gets on global news and all this stuff. She likes to put her face on the news and all this stuff. So maybe the recognition as a pillar of our community, which is she's not. She's just an abortionist. And the tide will shift, and the tide will certainly shift. So the industry's disposable assets, Dr. Michelle Dow is a pawn in the abortion machine. Well, we'll see what I mean by that. All right, so she's guilty, but she's also expendable. So Dr. Dow willingly participated in the abortion industry, prescribing life-ending drugs and profiting from it. So these and this is the thing. I'm trying to explain to these people that birth control pills, do not prevent conception. The baby is alive and survives for 6, 7, 8, 9 days, and then after that dies in the implantation stage. But there's so much, and we're going to get into the evidence, the evidence that implantation, according to them, is conception, but it certainly is not, right? So they're changing the meaning of conception, but we know from basic medical science and embryology that the conception is when the sperm meets the egg and all that stuff. So it is prescribing life-ending drugs and profiting from it. So that's the problem, is the baby boy or baby girl will be conceived and then will die because of the endometrial lining there. They will fail to implant and the baby will die. The small boy or the small girl will die, and they will say things like, "Oh, it's a blastocyst that failed to implant. There's no baby there, and they must dehumanize him or her," and that's certainly wrong. I mean, the medical science can prove that to be false. And the problem that I'm facing here is that people cannot understand that to be the truth, but it certainly is. I mean, it doesn't matter how many people just are blind to it, and they are. I mean, there's certainly a deception. It doesn't matter how they word it. It's a blastocyst that failed to implant. This is the truth, and Dr. Dow certainly is just an expendable foot soldier in this huge death machine. All right. However, while she faces public scrutiny and legal risks, the corporations and politicians behind the industry remain, protected. So the industry executives who bribed the politicians to get their foot in the door, they're going to walk away with way more money and way less risk, right? But Dr. Dow, she's just being dumb by putting all the risk on her shoulders and being the public face of it, and getting on the national news. What was that? She's on the national news from coast to coast to coast, and she's an abortionist, and anyway. But it works. It works, because people cannot see that these are abortifacients, that these drugs actually kill the baby after conception, and the baby is conceived and then killed in the later stage of implant. Very natural and very it's just a natural progression, very healthy stage of the implantation there. When the legal and cultural tide shifts against abortion, she will be the first to be sacrificed, while the real masterminds hide behind their wealth and power. So, no, don't get me wrong. I mean, she is the guiltiest. She belongs in jail, in the prison, in the federal penitentiary for a period of 25 years of parole ineligibility on top of a life sentence. So a life sentence, and if she's not granted parole, that means she will die in the prison. She will die in the prison. So the lawmakers and industry giants are laughing. The pharmaceutical industry makes billions every quarter from birth control and abortifacients, yet they don't need to get their hands dirty. So Dr. Michelle Dow's hands are certainly dirty, filled with all kinds of blood that is crying from the ground. that's the purpose of these videos, of course. It's not just preventing conception. That's not that's not the case here, and that's what I'm having a hard time to explain to these very reasonable people, right? These very reasonable people that I'm talking to, they don't understand that conception actually occurs, right? Ovulation is not 100% suppressed, right? And the conception occurs. There's a baby boy or baby girl that will die 6 to 9 days, after conception, and in the very natural and healthy stage of the implantation there. Right. So lawmakers accept bribes and lobbying money from these industries. uh, Lawmakers who accept bribes and lobbying money from these industries will never face public outrage the way abortionists do. If the system ever collapses, Dr. Dow will be blamed while the CEOs, executives, and politicians will walk free with their pockets full. So just a fraction, Dr. Dow made just a very, very small fraction of the money that the politicians made, or the CEOs and executives of drug companies made. Dr. Dow is the actual administrator of these drugs, or she is absolutely guilty. Um, you know, she takes on the most guilt and the most risk for a very small slice of the profit. So she took on all the risks for a slice of the profit. Dr. Dow enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle, but compared to the pharmaceutical titans and corrupt lawmakers, her wealth is a mere pittance. She shouldered the legal risks, potential for backlash, and public shame, while the real power players operated from the shadows. If public opinion turns, it won't be the billionaires at Pfizer and Merck who face prosecution. It'll be people like Dr. Depp, and she certainly should be, prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I mean, she's a murderess. You cannot have any kind of a society with people operating on the national news as they're a murderess, hiding behind the fact that people can't accept the truth. But it certainly is true. If she had any kind of honor at all, she would just read and explain the industry's own admittance that these drugs do not prevent conception but actually kill the baby in the stage of implantation, right? But she does not, right? She was a useful tool, but tools get thrown away. So the industry needed doctors willing to betray their oath. We made a whole video about the oath, so you can check that on my YouTube channel. The oath to do what? Do no harm, don't kill babies, right? So the industry needed doctors willing to betray their oath to keep the abortion machine running. Okay. Once abortion becomes socially unacceptable or legally restricted, she will be discarded like yesterday's trash, and the corporations and politicians will find another industry to profit from. But Dr. Dow's name will be forever stained. The real criminals are out there. While Dr. Dow's undeniably guilty, she's just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The pharmaceutical executives, corporate lobbyists, and corrupt officials who created and sustain this industry are the true masterminds. Holding her accountable is important, but the fight cannot stop her. The entire system must be exposed and dismantled. So, yeah, she's got a lot of money, and when I say the bank account is bursting at the seams, she's an exceedingly wealthy woman. Make no mistake, there's a huge amount of financial resources there, but for that small sliver of a fraction of a percentage of what the abortion industry makes, and to have that much risk, right? The risk is huge, the payout is extremely small. But I think it's oh, she's a pillar of our community. We're so proud of our woman empowered, empowering women and all this stuff. It's got to do with women's rights. It's got to do with a whole bunch of it's a whole it's wrong, and the only thing that keeps this going is the absolute refusal for people to be able to. It's not. I don't think it's a refusal. I think it's just inability for these people to actually see the fact that the conception occurs and the baby is killed. I think that a lot of people rightly believe and that this kind of thing can never happen. And we're going to make a whole video about that. But today, we're just talking about the fact that she's just a tool, and after after the industry is done with her, nothing about being a doctor. She's an abortionist working for the pharmaceutical industry. pretending to be a doctor. She certainly is not. She's an abortionist.